arm wrestling's come a long way now, and it's if it was like that when I was in there, man, I'd never left. But I mean, I pulled for 10 years right out of high school, and my goal was to be the best, world champion. And I worked super hard trying to do that. And then there's a guy named Cleve Dean that came out, 600 pounds, 6'10" dude that was just a complete monster. And for a long time, everybody was wrestling to be, second, and I didn't do it that way. I just concentrated on beating him, and I won a lot of tournaments coming up for 10 years, and then Over the Top was announced, and it was the biggest tournament of all time, and that was my focus, and it was my time, and I put together, and I crushed him. And I mean, it was my ultimate accomplishing goal in the business of arm wrestling, and shortly after that, I was offered a contract from New Japan to be a pro wrestler, and I changed courses. But you're not going to find a lot of video and a lot of tape because, Wild World of Sports carried Petaluma, and Over the Top was not televised live, but it was part of the movie, and there's a lot of, footage of that. And it just, it's a different world now. Social media really brought it into the forefront. And Vic just handed me the, Flash Throne there. He made our sport really big. But what these guys are doing today, you got Devin Larratt and Ryan Espy up in Canada. They're just studs. And they're living the life that, I wanted to get back into. I wanted to go back into professional arm wrestling once I, was done with my professional wrestling career, because I know that my technique might have left me, but power never left. But too many injuries. I tore too many tricep muscles and biceps, and shoulders are bad. And it's something that's not really something that's in the game plan. But man, if it was like it back in the day, I'd have never left. And I truly love that sport.
How were you recruited into the movie Over the Top? Was that just because you were involved in the real competition?
Well, that was part of it. When Marvin Cohn approached me with the tournament Over the Top, I took pretty much 18 months, 2 years off from Poland, and I knew that to beat Cleve, nobody's ever beaten him. He's just a monster, and his hand was so huge that I just had to be stronger than anybody just walking the earth, and I accomplished that. I mean, I went to the gym, and I mean, I trained twice a day like a monster for 2 years. And when I came back, Johnny Brzenk was really hot at the time, and he's continued to be hot through the 80s, 90s, 2000s until now. Just recently he retired. And they consider him the greatest of all time. I was playing with Johnny. I mean, he was easy for me. And I'm not trying to disrespect this man because he's the best. He deserves what they're considering him as being the greatest of all time. But nobody beat Cleve yet, and I just completely obliterated that son of a gun. It was just awesome, but it's the business, I mean, it's part of this, it's something I wish I could have carried on and gone on for a lot longer. But, when pro wrestling knocked on my door, it was, I needed to do that. It was a great move for me.
I know that you arm wrestled Gary Goodridge, not in competition, but in bars and stuff outside of competition.
It wasn't in bars. It was after tournaments.
Okay.
Gary's quite a bit younger than I was, or him, and Gary had a hell of a run. Super strong, super good, but he knows. Believe me. I mean, he just couldn't handle my hand. It was just my hand. To beat Cleve, his hand was the size of a freaking, when he made a fist, like a volleyball. And I just went to work, man. I mean, it was crazy what I did, and it was crazy what Gary did. For Gary to be as good as what he did, with not that his desire is amazing. You see what he does with the MMA. I mean, the guy's an animal. I mean, he has more desire. He's a great athlete, great arm wrestler, world champion, the whole 9 yards. But when I was right, Gary wasn't. Sorry. And I got all the respect for Gary. I'm not saying we all have our time. Everybody has you know, this generation get that generation. You know, what would Devin Lawrence do against Virgil Arcero? Or what would Johnny Walker do with for crying out loud, the guy or Monster Zilla, whatever the heck his name. I mean Todzilla. You know, it's just what we do, you know, everybody. And you know, I had my time, Gary had his time, Johnny Brasink has had a long time. But no, you know, I'm really glad you brought this arm wrestling up because I love talking about it. It was something that I absolutely love doing. And what they got going on right now is just, it's really entertaining to me. I train like an arm wrestler. I mean, my shoulders are gone. They're blown out. I have to have them both replaced, which sucks. I'm not feeling bad for me because I just had both knees replaced. And like, I think I'm faster on my feet now than I was before. You know, so there's no worries there. But you know, I just, you know, I train for it. I train like it, but it's, you know, at this point it's kind of unattainable, and that's just the way it is. But it's something it's hard to explain.
What was your training like for arm wrestling as compared to for professional wrestling?
It just, the business is more of a show as far as your physique or whatever, but arm wrestle is straight power to me. I just need to be more explosive and stronger than anybody else. And I got there. I did that. And it's something that when I peaked at over the top, and I mean, I went from arm wrestling Cleve Dean where he was obliterating me. Then the next time I pulled him was half a minute. Then the next time I pulled him was a minute. Then, you know, we just kept, and one day we pulled in Minneapolis, and we went for 2 minutes and 45 seconds, almost 3 minutes. And I knew that I was just getting better and better. And then all of a sudden, here comes over the top. I entered a big tournament in Reno. And in the finals, I wrestled Johnny, you know, and you know, everybody thought Johnny was the only guy who could beat him was Cleve. I mean, he was beating Virgil, he's beating Johnny Walker, he's beating Woolsey, he was beating everybody. George Hood, just he's beating them all. Bob Olson, and it was easy. I was just, you know, and I knew that I had what, you know, and then it was time to. This is the biggest tournament. I'm coming in my own. Cleve Dean's my wall, and I'm knocking that son of a bitch down. And I went to work, and to maintain that for, like Johnny's done it for all them years, that you know, that would have been a challenge, but it'd have been fun. It was it's a different sport. It's fun, you know. What we do in the gym to arm wrestle to get as strong as right now, these guys, there's so many different training apparatuses and handles. If I'd have had the gear that they're using today, they'd have arrested my ass because I mean, it was just I use them all, wrist max, and the guy in Russia, I can't remember his name.
Dennis
But
Klempoff or something like that, or
pardon me?
is it Dennis something? I don't know how to pronounce
Yeah,
it.
exactly. But and it's just there's all these new handles and all these different angles, and and I use them all, and I try, and some, I got more CBD oil on me when I'm trying to do this, and I'm training so light compared to what I used to train when I was in it. I mean, there are days I 315 on a straight bar, I'd rep it 8, 10, 12 reps like a warm up, and I just knew that my upper body strength was just superior to anybody else in arm wrestling, and I needed to be like that because it's all leverage. And when your hand, I have a pretty good sized hand, but when Cleve Dean just so much bigger and he's got so much of an advantage on you, and his forearm is 6 inches longer than yours, you got to be strong. And I mean, I did that. I mean, I was curling 150-pound dumbbells, hammer curls, like easy. I mean, it was just, I got to a point where I was so strong and I was so ready. I had to back off from my training, just to heal up. I mean, I put myself through hell, but it worked because I had some really cool training. Animal was one of my training partners. Animal's a badass in the gym. And we trained, I mean, like, for Joe being on the road and coming back to Minnie and telling me I would be here 1, 2, 3 days and going to the gym and train like, I was home resting, and I'd be back in the gym in the afternoon doing, my forearms and grip and work and hanging like a freaking monkey out pull-up bars and one-arm pull-ups and shit. I mean, it was just crazy. But for what he did, it was great. And Joe was a hell of a training partner. I had them all, and I had Jimmy Younger was a great, great, inspiration for me as far as helping me out with my training. And man, I mean, I just got stronger than everybody else. So it was a blast. I enjoyed it. You know, it's something like, don't get me wrong, going into pro wrestling was freaking awesome. I love what I did with my professional wrestling career, my time in Japan, my time in the States, and how lucky I was to have that. But if the arm wrestling scene would be like it is today, it's sad. COVID's kind of hurt it a lot right now, and I mean, it's kind of shut it down. But it's a blast, man. It's a great sport. If you're good at it, you understand. If you enjoy watching it, but participate when you can just put all that, it's best, man. It's a great feeling, man. It's a rush.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.